Welcome everybody to the Martial Arts Business Success Podcast. We're at episode number 101. I hope you guys tuned into our last really crazy 100 episode. It was a real milestone for us. We had an absolute blast. So if you haven't already checked in, check the videos. The audio just doesn't do it any favors.
Absolutely. Today we're talking about creating an engaging, rotating curriculum. So I guess, we've got to make sure, I can't say that everyone may know what a rotating curriculum is. They should, but there are two types of curriculum, Graham, rotating or a linear. Do you want to just quickly give us a bit of an explanation on those?
I guess I grew up in my martial arts journey on a linear curriculum. Basically what that meant was, as a smaller school at the time, there was requirements based around that particular belt level. Yep. So what it meant was I needed to learn a set skill set to be able to then progress to my next tip or my next belt or whatever it may be. Now, rotating curriculum still has that structure, but it's not as detailed. And I guess the devil's in the detail. And I know that with a linear curriculum, if an instructor is scheduled to teach that particular part,
yep,
and they're away, it can create absolute chaos for the class, the instructors. Now, we used to have 4 or 5 different sections going on in a class, which meant that beginner class, if I wanted to progress to my very next tip, I'd have to go in one corner where they were covering that specific skill set. Again, if there's a higher level, they'd have to go into the opposite corner, and so on and so forth. So linear is a very easy system to follow. In other words, you need to do A before you get to B, before you get to C. Rotating curriculum takes some of those principles. It's about progression and absorbing and learning the martial arts, but done in a way where everybody in the class group is learning that same skill set. And this is where we need to make sure that, and we'll touch on a little bit later about standards, but as a beginner program for us, we have 2 belt levels in the same class, white and yellow. It means that even the yellow belts getting ready to move on to the next intermediate rank are still learning those same skill sets. It's a whole class learning the same stuff, but you guess that there's a higher standard required from the guys who have been there for that, I guess, a little bit longer.
Yeah, that's right. So, am I right in saying that even though you've got a linear, you can't go from point A to point B to point C, and even the same goes with a rotating curriculum, although there's, let's say, for argument's sake, 8 pieces of the pie, you're still going through methodically piece 1 of the pie, piece 2, piece 3, piece 4, before you go to the other side.
Definitely.
But it's a mixed group, so white and yellow are in together, and that white and belt, let's say I'm the person, I've just started, I've come in on the pie, I'm a white belt. By the time I've come around to yellow belt and about to leave, I should have pretty much done all of the curriculum. Is that right?
Look, you most definitely should do. There's always those anomalies that occur. Someone's away, something happens, someone may fast track, they may have taken a little bit longer, so they have to repeat a few things. Look, at the end of the day, when you look at the grand scheme of things, I was a 5-year student, 10-year, 15, 20-year. You may find in the first month they may have missed 1 or 2 little bits, but at the end of the day, they can't really progress towards those higher levels without ticking all the boxes anyway. So you will cover that. I guess something I use a lot when I talk to people about this is Jiu-Jitsu is a prime example of a linear curriculum. They tend to have very detailed, for you to get your first stripe or your blue belt, for example, you need to be able to perform all of these sort of skill sets. Now, the challenge with that is, again, the progression and the incitement and the way that classes can be disguised with the repetition of sort of skill sets. So, rotating curriculum, and for those guys listening, we are biased because we've done both. We've done the linear and we've done the rotating curriculum, and rotating supports, I guess, quite a high level of growth and a high school operation without having a heavy staff requirement as well too. So there's definitely benefits to both. One thing that we do to make sure, and this is a question I always have when we speak at these events about rotating curriculum, where's the standards? Where is the checkpoints so that students don't get 2 years into it and they've sort of done a rotation and they've actually never really had any solid feedback or some stopping points that if they don't show the skill sets, they can't pass go. So Phil, how do we get around that?
I guess you're right in saying that a student will possibly go in through a rotating curriculum, the pie charts, for example, if you can put that image in your brain, and if they don't pass that particular piece of the pie, then they're going to obviously do some catch-ups, but they won't get that tip. So it's happened in the past where someone might have to go through 1.5 circles of the pie. Now, even though that piece of the pie that they may have missed, they might not do again exactly, but the skills that they've been learning within the curriculum are sort of blended throughout. So we are able to set the standard, I guess, or the checkpoint at that grading requirement. So white going to yellow.
Yep.
They have to meet a certain standard there. We're not so super focused on meeting, or they're all going to meet a standard, but they're still going to get tips on their belts, etc.
Yep.
But it's sort of like when you get to that point where you're getting a new belt, that's like you're not going to pass that part there until your instructor knows that you've got that level of skill and ability.
That's a really important part to bring up, that when creating rotating curriculums, I know that we do this a lot. We reverse engineer and go to perform at a black belt or a brown belt or a green belt or a blue belt, whatever the sequence in your school runs like. What do we want to make sure that they can perform at a level so that we're happy to successfully pass them?
Yeah.
And then I guess go, well, that's the level we want. Where does those skills get put in so that they're being taught in that sort of way? And that's a really important part. If we just reference our beginner program, again, our whites and yellows, they can't progress past that point, as you mentioned, until they can show their foundation, their basic skill sets being done.
Yeah.
Really at a high level. But that may not necessarily be in I guess a linear order. It could be something that they learn probably what is considered a more difficult skill earlier, and then the easy ones later. But at the end of the day, it all comes out in the wash. When they've got a grade, they've got to be able to perform those skill sets to the desired level.
I'm just having a little internal giggle because I'm thinking back of a moment where we had a colleague of ours go and create a curriculum, and he said, I'm going to do all this, and we're like, yeah, cool, go for it. And he was doing it from sort of white belt level all the way up to black, and he got sort of halfway and he's like, I'm pointing my hair out, I don't know where to go from here or how to get to the next level. And we go, did you reverse engineer it? Like, what's the standard of black? And if you start there and go backwards, it becomes so much easier. He came back and said, oh, that's one of those, what's the sound of a tree falling in the woods type moment,
It is like, my goodness. So look, mate, where do we start? And we talked about reverse engineering, but what are some of the key important parts when you are looking to make sure that it's a balanced rotating curriculum? And now we're talking from white belt to, say, black belt as a standard. What should be in there? How should it flow? More the case.
I sort of envision this, like a sequenced pattern of movements. For example, and I can explain this in a couple of different ways. Let's just say that a white belt would learn your left-right punch, left jab, right cross. And then at sort of a yellow belt, they might learn their left, right cross and a switch push kick. And then at orange belt, they might learn the left. They've got the left and the right down pack, the switch push kick, but now they've got a leg sweep takedown in it. And then, at blue belt, they've got full-on ground and pound moves there. And then at the next level, they've got how to defend against that. So it's like a sequence of events. Sort of like learning a kata as well. You learn the first part at a certain level, progress to the second part, the third part, the fourth part. So if you sort of can sequence it like that, then you're going to get a whole piece of the pie. Now, it's not as easy as that as always. Like, you do learn just katas on its own in a certain section. But sequencing meaning that you want it to flow. You want it to make sense. And I know we create things like called super drills, and in a particular class we will do maybe say 5 to 10 techniques, put it all together in a sequence, and it just looks awesome. Well, can you imagine if you could do that with your curriculum, your rotating curriculum, and you can have that sort of level of sequence where by the time they've got the black belt, they've just nailed everything and they're ready to go. They can do it individually, they can do it grouped in patterns, and that's just how we like to do it.
But mate, while you're talking, I'm sort of envisioning that there's a certain format when it comes to public speaking. There were the stories that you create. If you're talking about a script in a movie, if you're talking about a music piece, there's always that crescendo, there's always that peak, there's always that build up to that sequence. And really that's what you got to think about too, is a lot of guys, and if I talk about what not to do, they try and put too much in at the earlier stages. And what actually happens is you end up not having the good stuff for later on. You've got to make sure that you build them up to that level so that when they do get to the advanced stuff, there is that peak, that I guess it's the epic fight scene or the epic skills being taught.
You're not going to the CrossFit Games like at white belt, you know what I mean? Like you got to go to class first a few times, So.
Yeah, for sure. So guys, look, I think simplify it. You as a school owner know what you want to add in. Black belt we say it's the tip of the iceberg. That's where the fun stuff starts. But you can continue to create a rotating curriculum past that point. Most people will not ever create a syllabus detailed enough to get them from white to black. There are some that do, but most will struggle. So keep it simple, make it starting the process is better than than never starting at all. And, you know, I've got a coaching client I've been helping recently, and they're in the process of doing this. And to be honest with you, I have to tell them perfect is a standard that is unrealistic.
Yeah.
Don't even try to get it perfect. Just get it started, get it done. When you've done the first lot, review it, and you'll improve it as you continue to go forward. And, you know, 30 years ago, martial arts, what was relevant then is almost ancient and outdated within reason, as in practical self-defense now. So, you know, if you create skills and you hold on to them and that's all you'll ever do, guys, unfortunately, the system will unfortunately pass you by.
I mean,
so
even with us, you know, we're going through our lesson plans of curriculum again.
Yep.
Every year we curriculum check. Are we on path? Are we doing the right things? Does it make sense now? Because the way we taught it 10 years ago is different than now. So it's important that even though a school is as successful as us, I'll get that out in a minute, that you still go back and you go redefine and recreate and just check your curriculum. Like, there's no excuses whether you're successful or you're not. There's just the excuse that, you know, you don't have the time or the patience or the manpower. Well, that's just a limiting belief. You've just got to make time. Graham, I've got a quick ask for you. Like, what happens? I know in our classes, you know, we talk about having a white and yellow belt and an orange and blue in one class. What if there's a blue belt going through to green belt, but there's a fresh orange belt, and we're teaching the same thing?
Look, you've got to understand, you know, systemize the process, personalize the exception, understand standards and expectations. You know, it's a bit of a no-brainer, but some people don't always absorb and understand. Remember, a brand new student, their complexity, because it's a brand new skill being taught, their understanding will be very basic. For those who know it already or at a higher level, their comprehension and their delivery of the skill will be at a far greater level. So you've got to expect that. And also, this is where being able to have a few jelly beans up your sleeve is, here's the base skill, everyone's doing that, those higher level guys are performing at a higher level, you can add in one or two extra little bits for them, and that'll help them to take it to the next level. So, you know, it's knowing that you're able to adapt, and your expectation of an instructor should be dependent on the group that you have. Don't expect a brand new student to be, you know, a 10 out of 10 when they're probably looking at only understanding it the first time, whereas the guys who are at a higher level, well, you can expect more from them.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, I think that's a wrap, mate. There's so many things you can do with the curriculum. It's really almost like a 10-part podcast and video series, and we don't want to weigh that down on you. But if you are interested in developing your curriculum, if you've got a linear and you want it rotating, if your rotating curriculum is there but it's not quite finished, reach out to us, guys. Let us know. admin@tima.com.au. We're happy to help you out. Better yet, you know, jump on board. We've got a TIMA Mastermind, which is an online Facebook group for $47 a month. You get access to us. If you like listening to what we've got to say, well, come and join us live on Facebook, where you get to ask questions and we get to interact with you personally right there, right then, and help you with your business as well. So if that interests you guys, you can head to the website, tima.com.au, and you can find that TIMA Mastermind. But Graham, I know we've got a massive event coming up, teaming up with Hyper. TIMA's going to just blow the rest of 2017 out, and we're going to kick ass in 2018. What's happening at this event, dude?
You guys who are listening to this or viewing this, you get an opportunity to join us live and have a really fantastic time on a marketing event, $1 million marketing model, where we're going to show you, not only show you, but we're going to hold your hand. We're going to go step by step through this marketing machine that we put in place and give you guys the tips for 2018 so you can plug it in and play straight away. So it's on Sunday, the 19th of November. It's in Sydney. I won't get you guys all the details now. Just follow the links. It's got all the prices, all the bits and pieces. We've opened up registration now. So if you're interested, register your details, find out some more. There'll be a very limited window of available tickets. So you better have your finger hot and ready to press the button when the day's open, and away we go. So follow the link, guys, and it'll give you all the details.
Cool. There'll be a link somewhere in there, guys, but if not, you'll have to follow this one. It's www.tima.com.au/P, the letter P, /event, and that'll get you to the registration page, guys. 25 tickets are already sold by the time you listen to this. We may be sold out, but go register, guys, and get yourself in that event.
Woo, see you soon.